Yes, we coming in hot this morning with Community Voices Live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, and I'm excited for the show that we are about to have. And I just want to say right now, I think I'm rolling so low. I think I'm rolling so low, and that's okay with me. I want to make sure that you know that you are greeted this morning in the spirit of Sawubona, that spirit of oneness that binds us together by our humanity. And there's nothing you can do about the fact that we are all human together, but there's a whole lot we can do about how we interact with each other, human to human. And that's always the undercurrent of our conversations here at Community Voices, where we center Blackness in the context of the human story. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to make sure that you know how grateful we are for you. I want you to know how grateful we are for you. If it were not for you, showing up in all of the ways that you do, calling into the station, stopping by the station, going out to vote, showing up at the White Water Tavern, showing up at any community event that we announce. Like, we are just so glad. Oh, especially during pledge drive, we would not be alive if it were not for you. So I want you to know that from the bottom of our hearts, right here at KABF 88.3 FM, we are grateful for all of the ways that you help us stay 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, bringing you information and music that can educate, that can inform, that can influence, that can have an impact on you. That is why we are here. Hotep is already on the line, woo woo, wishing us life, prosperity, and health. I did not. I intentionally did not. I did not have a song for you on this morning, and I did not. I don't want to start with a EGI tidbit because I want you to listen to something that I received that I was listening after our conversation on Thursday. I probably should say this. I don't know if I've ever said this before, but I am a processor. And so when we have conversation with each other, that conversation lasts in that moment between me and you. But the way my mind works, I'm always constantly reflecting on the conversation. I'm always constantly rethinking and recalling the conversation. And I want to have, and as I recall the conversation, that's when I ask more questions, when I have more thoughts to share. And so after the conversation on Thursday, I just wanted to do. I just wanted to spend some more time thinking about what we shared together in that space, what I consider to be an absolutely sacred space. And so I want to ground our conversation instead of in an EJI tidbit and in a song. I want to ground it in this poem that I heard as I was listening to. I was listening to uh, I was listening to a video about the Black Panther Party after the conversation on Thursday. I know that we did not mention the Black Panther Party. I'm not even sure what made me link or draw any connection or connect any dots to the Black Panther Party, but that's exactly what I did. And so now so I went on and was I've been listening to this it's a documentary. It was actually put together by Huey P. Newton's his wife, the late Huey P. Newton, his wife, Frederica Newton. She is the one who is responsible for the, she's responsible for the Black Panther Museum as it stands in Oakland, California, right now. And so she is the one who um, curated this particular documentary that's called The Black Panthers, and it's Black Panthers at 50. I want to say it's at 50 because it's 50 years. This documentary was produced 50 years after the start of the Black Panther Party. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is called. The Black Panther Party. Let me just make sure because I don't want to tell no stories. I want to make sure I'm getting it right. I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. And so the name of the documentary is All Power to the People. All Power to the People. That's what the name of it is. And it's Black Panthers at 50. So this is a 50-year commemoration of the beginning of the Black Panther Party. I was sitting with a loyal listener last week, and he reminded me that what we used to say as Black people in particular, because we do center Blackness in the context of the human story here on Community Voices. And so what he reminded me is that we used to ask, what time is it? And the answer was, it's nation time. Why don't we go back to that? What time is it? It's nation time. That's what time it is. And so here is this poem by Shanaka. I want to say that's her name. I really want to make sure. Look, I don't know how to pronounce names unless people tell me, and I don't have access to her. But I want to say her name is Shanaka Hodge, and this is the poem that I want you to hear, so that we can ground our conversation in what we hear in this moment. Here it comes. Oh, shoot, I should have done that. I should have done it. Shoot. Okay, I don't think you all hear what's going on. Let me see why y'all can't hear what's going on right now. Oh, my gumdrops. Here we go again. Lord Jesus, help me. Okay, let me see what's going on with this, why you can't hear it today. Let's see, I must be doing something wrong. Let's see. Maybe this is the problem. Let me try one more time. I want to go back to the beginning. Y'all give me just a moment to work with this. Give me just a moment to work with this equipment up in here, because I'm not sure what's happening. But I do know that I used to remind my mother all the time that we are smarter than we are smarter than the technology, because the technology is coded by us. So the technology can't do anything that we don't tell it to do. So let me just make sure I'm smarter. I'm smarter than this technology this morning. Okay, let me see. This should be it.
Let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a pitchfork a pitchfork. Let's just say we know what a posse look like, what a mob can do. We know about chasing ghosts. We know about finding ourselves in dark rooms. We know about safety and numbers. Let's admit that the town people ain't never been afraid of the giant, that the body has always been bigger than the head, that the power has always been with, of, and for the people. So let's just tell the truth. Let's just be honest. Let's talk back. Let's march to infirmary. Let's outline some points, and let us speak of police who will step over our sleeping children to shoot their fathers and ask why they woke, and ask why we have guns. We cannot forget how whales sound escaping from a siren or a boy. Let us call little Bobby's name. Let's call little Bobby's mama. Let's put her on the phone with Wanda Johnson or Sabrina Fulton. Let's talk about how easy it is to choke, how America's bravest mass shooting is durational, collective. Let's say wounded knee and never again. Let's say move on HQ and never again. Let's say it in the same breath as splints, in the same water as everywhere we have been drowned. Let's say America and mean necessarily the trail we wept to get here, the choppy ocean that fought to kill us. Let's say Los Angeles and Philadelphia and Accra, and mean the parts of the world who knew revolution as we did, black and impoverished and just coming back from a war like always. Let's talk about money as if the first U.S. bailout wasn't stocked in the hull of a slave ship. Oh, but we ain't supposed to talk about that. We ain't supposed to talk about cotton. We ain't supposed to talk about that gin. We ain't supposed to talk about Jim Crow. We're supposed to be post. We ain't supposed to ask for what's owed. We're supposed to be thankful to a tyrant. We're supposed to kowtow. We're supposed to back down. We're supposed to not talk about our ache or what we've missed or how we ain't never had a language or a flag or even a proper family reunion. We are never going to know the names of the people who died for us to live in terror. Let us admit that the idea of Africa is still an offense punishable by death. We are not to dream of going home, not to speak of what has been stolen, not to feed our children, not even to let our hair take flight. We ain't supposed to do anything but die. Not nothing. We supposed to die. We're supposed to not even know we're supposed to die. We're supposed to not speak that we know we're supposed to die. We're supposed to watch our sisters rub crack chalk on their eyes. We're supposed to sit and eat stale crust and look on from the outside. What kind of party is that? Let's start our own. We're supposed to sit here and wait till somebody let us stop waiting on freedom like it's the whooping cough. Stop hoping freedom is going to court us on a Thursday date night. Quit crossing our legs and biding our time and biting our nails. It's our birthright, and they will lie to us and tell us we are violent for wanting peace. Peace is our dowry. We wed to a democracy that keeps taking off its ring. We married to a decadent system that mocks squalor and honor. We saw what they do to our leaders. We see how they're trying to string us up. There are bodies on the asphalt. There are members in holding. There are lines drawn all around us, and they closing in tight. There's a courthouse. There's a free breakfast. There's Emery's pen. There are Tarika's fingers, Sonia's poems, and Bobby's plans and kitchen. There are instruments of light and joy. There are folks waiting on orders. There are children in the hallway singing songs about our mothers. These blues people in their black leather. There are teenagers sneaking into our meetings. There are old folks who are both afraid and resentful. They didn't do this first, but some did. Some dusted off their pistols and got right to it. Right here on Grover MLK, right here on 10th Street, right here out front of McClymonds and Merritt. Come on, real revolution. Come, real revolution. Come, real fire and fake alibi. Come some Sunday when some brother comes to with a visceral realization that he lost sanity to a country that would have his breath on a plaque, would have his head without thinking and mounted. He's either going to want to get even or get freedom. The whole universe stands to benefit if this black man is free. The truth of the matter is white folks' freedom depends on ours, and we've outgrown a binary that excludes all other comrades. We're talking about all the people, all the people, all the people. Let's take all the power, all the power, all the power, all the people, all the people, all the people, all the power, all the power, all power to the people.
That's what I wanted you to hear. That is by Shanaka Hodge. That particular clip from the documentary All Power to the People, Black Panthers at 50, and you can find it on YouTube. Oh, and let me tell you what else I learned. I learned that there is an app. I don't know what it looks like on Android, but there's an app in iOS. Those of us who have Apple phones, you can use the that's us, iOS. Those of us who have Apple products. But there is an app called Brave, B as in boy, RAVE, Brave browser. And if you download that app, go to your Google Play Store. I don't know what it looks like on the Android, but go to your Google Play Store. It will allow you to stream at least, I'm not sure about the other platforms, but I know YouTube. And it will be ad-free. If you use the Brave browser, then you won't have to worry about commercials coming up as you are playing whatever video it is that you are interested in. And you do not have to do like my brother and pay for an ad-free account. The Brave app is free and it will get rid of your ads, so you don't have to worry about commercials. And so that's what I didn't have to worry about skipping anything while she was talking. But Shanaka Hodge is a part of this documentary that, again, was curated by the late Huey P. Newton's ex-wife, Frederica Newton. And what I was concerned, why I wanted us to hear it, what I want us to think about, is that there was a time when the Black Panther Party was meaningful and significant for all of us who are members of the African diaspora. We looked up to them. We considered them to be role models. We felt like they were actually boots on the ground getting it done. Some of us even wonder, why can't we have that here where we live, whether it was me in Jackson, Mississippi, whether it was you in Little Rock, Arkansas, whether it was you in Ferguson, in Missouri, like wherever it was. Like, why don't we have these men and women who are willing to stand up and I mean, be unafraid, unapologetic, be proud. I'm Black and I'm proud. I got my afro, I got my fist in there. What is it about us now that keeps us from doing that? And so when we were having the conversation on Thursday, that's what I began to think about. Oh, wait a minute. Let me say this before I forget. Today is the beginning of early voting for the primary general elections. The early voting starts today on Tuesday, March 24th for the early voting for the primary general election. So there are some people who are in the runoff, like Tara Shepard. She is in the runoff for state senate state senator for District 15. And so I can tell you where some of the, let me tell you where some of the early voting places are. Right here in your midst. I pulled this from her Facebook account. Right here. Oh, wait, let me get my let me get my glasses, y'all. I'm 53. Let me get my glasses. Okay, early voting locations. Main early voting location is Pulaski County Regional Building at 501 West Markham Street in Little Rock. The dates for early voting are Tuesday, today, March 24th through Monday, March 30th. There's no voting on the weekend, no voting on the weekend, and the hours for early voting are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So for those of you who have a 9 to 5, use your use your lunch break. Look, just bring your bag lunch to the voting place with you and just eat in line. Just eat in line. And so it's from 8 to 5 p.m., the early voting hours. Additional early voting locations, and they are closed on the Monday before Election Day. That's crazy. But anyway, they're closed on the Monday before Election Day. Sue Cowan Williams Library at 1800 South Chester Street. John Gould Fletcher Library at 823 North Buchanan Street. Jacksonville Community Center at 5 Municipal Drive, Jacksonville. The D. Brown Library at 6325 Baseline Road. That's in Little Rock. Adolphine Fletcher Terry Library at 2015 Napa Valley Drive, Jess Odom Community Center at 1100 Edgewood Drive in Maumelle, Roosevelt Thompson Library, 38 Rawlings Circle, Hillary Clinton Children's Library, 4800 West 10th Street, First Christian Church of Sherwood, 2803 Keel Avenue in Sherwood, Sidney S. McMath Library at 2100 John Barrow Road, William F. Lehman Library at 2801 Orange Street in North Little Rock. And all this is paid for, giving you this she paid to give you this information, and that is State Representative Tara Shepherd, who is running for the Arkansas Senate in District 15. So I want to let you know again that all roads lead to the ballot box. All roads lead to the ballot box. And I also want to go back to this particular documentary so that we can hear from Bobby Seale. He is one of the co-founders of the Black Panthers. He is one of the co-founders, Bobby Seale. And I want you to hear what he has to say, particularly around voting, since today is the first day of early voting here for the general election for the primary.
1967, I was at Lincoln University, a historical Black university. And someone gave me a copy of Ramparts magazine. If you were awake and concerned about the world and wanted to know more, Ramparts was it. And as I opened the magazine to look at the article, there was a picture of Huey Newton strapped to a hospital gurney with a bullet wound. And I decided to leave and drive across the country to become part of the Huey P. Newton Defense Committee, but also to join the Black Panther Party. Because I read that it was an organization created not just to end police brutality, but the upliftment of all, as the term was then, poor and oppressed people in the world. And that was the kind of organization I wanted to be a part of.
At the time when I joined the Black Panther Party, Huey Newton was on trial in the city of Oakland. And my job at that time was to make sure that Huey arrived at court.
I'm trying to make sure that you hear from Bobby Seale, but it's kind of finicky trying to get the exact time when you're using your phone. And so I want to make sure that you hear what he has to say about not early voting, but what he has to say, period, about voting. And so Lo is on the line right now as I pull this up, make sure I get closer to the time so that you won't have to hear the parts that you were that you're really not interested in hearing, but I want to try to pull this up. But here is Lo talking while I'm pulling this up right now. And what Lo says is, we have become too comfortable and bought into the American nightmare, not the dream. We have become too comfortable and bought into the American nightmare and not the dream. But what I want to say about that is that even if you bought into the dream, it is not for you. And you really need to know that the American dream is not for people who are poor. It's not for those of us who are oppressed. It's definitely not for members of the African diaspora. It's certainly not for Black folks. So here is Bobby Seale right now, if I've gotten this right.
And some of the young people were running around saying Black Power this, Black Power that. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? You guys ain't gonna get any kind of power until you take some political seats. Political seats. Yeah, city council seats, county supervisorial seats, all them the white man seats. You better make up your mind to make it some Black folks seats if you want to get some power.
So that's what Bobby Seale says. Those of us who are running around here talking about power to the all power to the people. Those of us who are running around here talking about what time is it? It's nation time. Those of us who are talking about being members of a tribe, being members of the African diaspora and standing firm and unapologetic, making sure that everybody knows that we ain't never scared. In order for us to really have power, we've got to take the seats that we call the white man seat. We got to take those seats in order for us to have power. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling. Caller, yes, I'm here.
Hello?
Yes, caller, I can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, caller.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, caller.
You know, okay, I'm talking now. To know,
So let me just say this for everyone who is listening. If you choose to call in, oh, by the way, the phone lines are absolutely open at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are absolutely open at 501-433-0088. And when you call in, we can absolutely hear you. I'm not sure what's happening on your end, but when you call in, just talk. I know that might feel funny. I know it might feel strange, but just talk because we absolutely positively can hear you as you call in. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling Community Voices. Caller? Yes, we're here. Caller?
yeah, I would like to say, we, you know, when you look at people that God told them that these were specific people that they would come together to God. You know, if no one that studied who really came to us in America, gave us a plan, brought unity, people prospered, still prospered off of this teaching, but still would not unite like he told you who you were, told you who your enemy were. As a matter of fact, all your Hollywood people and started making money, bombing out these made the first $1 million fight, him and so praise. All these people that we got acting like this didn't have all farmland, all this, did this, uplifted people on a magnitude that have never happened nowhere on this damn planet. And then I got this man and he makes this. I'm sick of Black as people, really. They don't want to come together under one banner. You think all you can know all the stuff, but if you can't come together and put it together with the energy to bring about change, you ain't going nowhere. you gonna snake stuff. If you ain't got a God here in the flesh to teach you, you still ain't hearing nothing from the invisible God. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, caller. I think for me, it's important for us to realize. Well, let me not talk about us. Let me just talk about me. I am not in any way, shape, or form delusional enough to believe that all Black people across the country, across the planet, are gonna come together to do anything. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I was browsing through the Arkansas Democrat this morning in the Pine Bluff section, and there's this young man that he's making a documentary on Pine Bluff, the old Pine Bluff, the very progressive Pine Bluff in the old days, compared to how Pine Bluff is now. Pine Bluff getting a bad name and everything, and the economic prospects of Pine Bluff looked pretty dim at the time, but you know, the documentary, I don't know exactly when it's going to come out, but I think his name was Epiphany or something like that. And he's a Pine Bluff native, but he graduated from Stanford University. And he's also made another documentary. I wasn't aware of it, but I was just bringing in that because, you know, I do remember the days, old days when Pine Bluff was progressive. And I'm not from Pine Bluff, but I do remember those days. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. That reminds me, caller, thank you so much to announce this, that we do have a progressive mayor now in the city of Pine Bluff. Her name is, I was going to say representative, but Mayor Vivian Flowers. And there is a State of the City address, Monday, March 30th. Monday, March 30th. That's this Monday coming up, March 30th at 6 p.m. at the Pine Bluff Convention Center. One Convention Center Drive is presented by Mayor Vivian Flowers. And so I'm pretty sure that she's going to say something that connects with what's going to happen in the documentary that the caller just talked about. So those of you who are interested in Pine Bluff, where they are, what the goal is, what the next steps are, tune in for the 2026 State of the City address, Monday, March 30th at 6 p.m. at the Pine Bluff Convention Center, One Convention Center Drive, presented by Mayor Vivian Flowers. And so I do not, if there are any Black folks, if there are any non-white folks who think that the only way that we are going to get where we are trying to go, which for me is collective liberation. I said collective liberation because if it's one single body, one single individual in our midst that is not free, none of us are free. And we have to come to that realization. I am not waiting for just Black folks, just members of the African diaspora, or just non-white folks to say, okay, all of us are now together. Now let us move as a nation. No. I say this every single Tuesday, that we center Blackness in the context of the human story. So all of us are a part of what is going on right now. So if we are going to manifest collective liberation, it's going to take all of us who are like-minded, regardless of our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, our gender identity, our socioeconomic status, our educational level, our political affiliation, our spiritual denomination. We got to get beyond that. If you have the same mind as me, let's work together. And here is a clip from that same documentary, All Power to the People. I love it. All power to the people. Then Black Panthers at 50. This is a clip from a white man whose name is David Levinson. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'm laughing. Okay.
My work with the Black Panther Party was really an outgrowth of the kind of family activism that I was blessed with. My mother actually founded the Huey P. Newton Defense Committee, which was an outgrowth of an organization that had been sort of called Honkies for Huey. My mother did not consider herself a honky, but a legitimately concerned social activist. who wanted to right something that was wrong. We were white, effectively, most of us, working in predominantly white communities. But we felt at the time that the kind of example and the kind of programs and the kind of perspective that the Black Panther Party had was right for us as well.
It was
So that's what it means when we say that we are centering Blackness in the context of the human story. David Levinson and his mother and his family and all of the white people that were working with them said, listen, it's not about our race. It's about what speaks to the core of who we are as human, what motivates us, what inspires us, what gets us to act, what causes us to act on behalf of humanity to do what is right. And so these are the principles of the Black Panther Party that this white family and those around them said, we can get with this. It don't matter what color we are, we can get with this. And so how many of those are the people I'm looking for? I'm looking for the people that say, listen, I don't care nothing about what you look like. I don't care nothing about who you sleep with. I don't care nothing about where you go to church. I don't care nothing about that. What I care about is when you see somebody and you look at them and you recognize them as human, what does your body say about how to treat them? What does your soul say about how to interact with them? What does your God, whoever that is, what does your God compel you to do? Because in the book that we call the Bible, that some of us reverence so much, Paul says, I ain't got no choice but to do what's right by God. I don't have a choice. It's because of the spirit that's working within me that says I gotta do right by God's people, because that's the only way that I can call myself a member of the way, because it wasn't no Christianity back then. That's some stuff we done made up. It wasn't it was called the way. And it came from, is that John? Is that John? What book is that where it says, I want to say that's John. I want to say that's John chapter 14, where you got Jesus talking to the people, talking to the disciples, saying, let not your hearts be troubled. If you believe in God, believe also in me, because I'm going to a place. That's where and the place where I'm going, I'm gonna prepare you a mansion. That's where I'm going. And so you and Thomas, I love me some Thomas. If I am reflected in any member of the disciples, I am reflected in Thomas, because Thomas the one that's going to ask the questions that everybody else thinking about. But Thomas going to ask, and Thomas says, hold on. I can just see Thomas raise his hand and say, hold on, Jesus. Hold on. Because they did not consider Jesus to be the Christ. They did not consider Jesus to be holy. Jesus was one in their midst who was doing something. Jesus was like a Huey P. Newton. Jesus was like a Marcus Garvey. Jesus was like an Angela Davis. Jesus was like a Asada Shakur. Jesus was like a Malcolm X. This was somebody who was moving something in their midst. This was somebody who was head of a campaign to make sure that we can turn this world around. That's who Jesus was to them. We done made him some kind of Christ that's on a cross, looking all sad, ain't got no power. That's what we have done. But Thomas raises his hand and said, wait a minute, Jesus, listen, wait a minute. I'm listening to you talk. But we don't even know where you're going. So if we don't even know where you're going, how we know the way? How to get there? How can we get there? We don't even know where you're going. And Jesus says, but I am the way. I'm the truth, and I'm the life. And so the way is what they called the movement that says we're going to overturn this stuff that they trying to do up in here. The Hitlers of their day, the Trumps of their day. We're going to overturn it by making sure that we follow the way. So here David Levinson is, as a white man, saying the honk is for Huey. He said, my mom ain't claimed that, but somebody said that my mom ain't claimed it. She said she's a social justice activist that's willing to put her body on the line as a white person for the principle of the thing. And if we can just stand on principle, 10 toes down on principle, then perhaps we could get somewhere. And so that's what I hear David Levinson saying. I also want you to hear something else he says. Something else he says about his interaction with the Black Panther Party, because I do think that from just based on the feedback that I receive, and I can only receive the feedback that you all are willing to share with me. So if you don't share me with how you feel and what you think, then I won't know it. But there are some people who call me on the phone. There are some people who send me texts. There are some people who see me out in public and they say, listen, I want to tell you something about your show. Okay, let me hear what you got to say. And so one of the things that I have heard and I'm learning is that people are really struggling with this idea of, when I say that we are centering Blackness in the context of the human story, it's just so hard for some people to understand that this does not mean that we're saying that to be Black is more important than to be anything else. That's not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is we live in a world that is designed by, that is empowered by, that is influenced by, that is impacted by whiteness in every aspect of our lives. And so here is a space where we say, we ain't gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about what's happening to Black folks. There are some spaces that talk about what's happening to brown folks. There are some spaces that talk about what's happening to immigrants. There are some spaces that's talking about what's happening to the angry white men. So why can't there be a space where we talk about what's happening to Black folks? Like, I'm not understanding, but I do want to help you understand. Even though I don't understand your misunderstanding, perhaps somebody else can speak to it. And that's the purpose of me bringing in these different voices. And so it starts at 16 minutes. So just give me 6 seconds to listen to, this is one of the members, Jennings. His last name is Jennings. He was actually a member of the Black Panther Party from 1968, I want to say, to 19... don't let me tell no lies, but he's a member of this one. The first voice you're going to hear is him ending a conversation, and then we're going to pick up with David Levinson, the white man that I shared with you a few minutes ago. Let's hear him. Wait, what's happening? What's happening? Y'all, I swear sometimes I be feeling like it's a conspiracy theory with me on Tuesday mornings. I swear sometimes I feel like it's a conspiracy theory. Now, wasn't I just playing stuff for y'all a few minutes ago? I know I was just playing stuff for y'all a few minutes ago, so why I can't play it now? I'm really not a conspiracy theorist. I really am not. But can y'all help me understand that? I don't know. But anyway, I'll tell you what I wanted you to hear David say. He said that he was volunteering in one of the clinics that was run by the Black Panther Party. And as he was volunteering for this particular clinic, he began, because he dropped out of school. He dropped out of school in order to work for the Black Panther Party. Like, that's how dedicated he was to the movement, that he was willing to drop out of school. He said, I want to devote myself to this particular work that is being done by the Black Panther Party. I want to devote myself to it. But then as he was working in the clinic, he said, well, maybe what the clinic needs are physicians, because he's watching what's happening in the clinic. He said, well, maybe that's what we need. So he goes to the leadership of the Black Panther Party. He has a discussion with them and he says, hey, what do you think about me going back to school and becoming a doctor? Because, I just feel like maybe that could be a help to you. And the leadership said, yeah, absolutely. We could definitely use some doctors. And so Levinson goes back to school, enrolls in school, finishes college, then enrolls in medical school, finishes medical school, becomes a physician, and then offers his gifts of medical artistry to the Black Panther Party. And so again, this is a man who the world identifies as white, saying, I don't care nothing about that. What I care about is doing right by the people. I don't care what they look like. Let's do right by the people. And so when we talk about white people having privilege, don't get me wrong. A lot of people, as a Black woman in America, I have privilege and I own that. But my privilege is different from white privilege. And that is something that we need to acknowledge. Yes, several of us have privilege, but white privilege is a whole nother thing. And so when you can say, yes, the world identifies me as white, I identify myself as human. So wherever I can step in as human to make sure that we push this movement forward toward collective liberation so that all of us are free. Because if my black brother and my black sister or my black gender nonconforming sibling is not free, then as a white person, I ain't free. If the person of trans experience is not free, then I ain't free. If the immigrant is not free, then I ain't free. If the children are not free, going to schools that don't want to educate them, living in neighborhoods that don't have a grocery store, living in places that do not honor them as the young humans that they are not kids. I can't believe Lowe said this a few minutes ago. He said something like, we have become too comfortable and we bought into the American nightmare. What I think we've done is we've become too comfortable and we have bought into the American language. Like when y'all start calling y'all children kids? Because when we were first oriented into the word kids, those of us who remember, if you can recall the first time that you learned about the word kid, it was talking about a baby goat, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't mind being correct. I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was actually a compliment. They said to me, you know what, Denise, I appreciate the fact that you don't mind people asking you questions. I surely do not. As a matter of fact, we say John Henry Clark, but the way I read is Henrique, Henrik, Henrique. John Clark says this as a lecturer. This is what he says as a lecturer. If I come to offer you a lecture, and I do not provide an opportunity for there to be questions and answer, a Q&A section, then I have not indeed given you a lecture, because the lecture is not complete until we have had a time to interact with each other through Q&A. So if a person that you are dealing with will not allow you to ask, if your preacher tells you that you better not question God, then that ain't no real preacher. If a preacher tells you that you can't, your arms too short to box with God, that ain't no real preacher. If anybody is in any space and will not allow you to ask a question, if you are in love with somebody that will not allow you to question them, you don't need to be in love with them, because they don't love you back. You have to be able to have that push and pull. You have to be open to the yes and the no, the let's think about it. What about this? What about that? You have to be open to that. So I ain't mad about it. Absolutely, I'm not mad about it. Call me, ask me the question, because I'm definitely going to ask you. And so when we get to the point that we are willing to sit down, no matter who we are, together, let's figure this thing out together. That's what we want to do. And that's what we are encouraging you to do right here at KBF 88.3 FM. And that's why the phone lines are always open. That's why. 501-433-0088. That's why. I didn't even finish. 0088. I want to see one more time if I can get David to speak the part that I spoke for him, because I ain't trying to speak for him. I want him to speak for himself. But what is going on with this equipment? Nah, I can't get it to play, so let's keep on moving. So one of the concerns that I had about the conversation on Thursday was that I felt like in my body, I was offering up, I was manifesting for us all. Call, you're live on the air, KBF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Yes, caller, you're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, caller, we can hear you.
Yeah. I would like to, you were speaking about Jesus. If you understood Jesus or something, Jesus is talking about you as a first person. Christ in Jesus is divine in you. Now, I'm going to lay out something here real deep here, a little deeper than normal. With if you know what a voltage regulator is on a car, it voltates the energy produced by the alternator. If black people not on this planet absorbing the sun energy, this earth could not exist. Science know this, but they just ain't telling you. The energy goes, the rays go all the way through you into the earth, manifesting things in the earth that you don't know nothing about. We don't know how powerful we really is. We need to know who we is and accept who you is. The divine source lives in you, you live in it. You ain't got to look all out in the sky. Ain't no somebody telling you where the hell you gonna go. And all these different things. That's organized stuff. That's organized to keep you coming back to them. Scare the hell out you, and then you go die and go to hell. And then if you do a little something wrong, have you guilt about everything. That's control. You can't be free like that. Scared to death. Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to meeting you one day because you do something.
Thank you, caller. I am going to find you. I am. So here's what Lo says. Did not Jesus have a dialogue with those in the temple? Then we should be able to question those religious things that do not make any sense. Did not... Caller, you're live on the air, KBF at 8.3. Thanks for calling. Good morning, Ezekiel.
Those on the way up. I want to add something to your conversation today. And it's rather sad because the omission of our history and fashion, just here in America, and in recent years, is very disturbing. Before there was a Black Panther Party in Louisiana, there were a group of men who came together. They were World War II veterans, career veterans, and they formed a group called the Victims for Defense and Justice. And they changed the way folks were treated in Louisiana by arming themselves and fighting the Klan. They whooped them in Jonesboro, Louisiana, and go to Louisiana. They actually changed everything. This is back in '65. They were the forerunners of the Black. And for whatever reason, no one ever hears about them. The people were so afraid of them back then that you could actually march in Louisiana and the Klan wouldn't do anything to you anymore. They effectively stopped all of those types of actions at that time. And we don't ever hear about them. And it's the reason we don't hear about them because they were very successful. The Victims of Defense is what they were called. They were in Jonesboro, Louisiana, northern Louisiana, in Bogoloo. If you would have, a time to just research that. And they were actually the forerunners of the Black Knight. Are you able to understand me?
Yes, I heard you clearly.
So hopefully, someone will remember them in 1965. And they were so successful, they actually disowned the Klan. Matter of fact, one of their members shot a Klansman who shot at them. Nothing, that's the first time anybody ever shot a Klansman as they were doing what they did. And of course, no one was prosecuted from the sheriff and police who were actually members of the Klan. But they shot one of those Klansmen, and those Klansmen stopped bothering them right after that. And that was in '65, right before the Watts riots in Los Angeles, which was in the summer of '65. So if you would, let's research that, because that was right here in Louisiana. And that's just 200 miles from where we are today. Thanks for your time. And I'll be listening to your program and hope to talk with you. Thanks.
Thanks, Ezekiel. I really feel like, honestly, Ezekiel and the rest of you, I don't even feel like we can even spend our time learning about those who were brave enough to confront the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. Because one of the things that I was thinking about when I was looking at the Black Panther, because you said this is before the Black Panther Party, and right now I'm just rooted in the Black Panther Party for today. And one of the things I realized as I was watching this video and doing all the research, what I realized is that one of the things that separates us right now, those of in 2026, from being like the members of the Black Panther Party, men and women and children, because the children were called Panther Cubs. They had children that were a part of the party. What separates us is that the Black Panther Party was fearless. See, I cannot even, let me tell you, if you want to know something that burns me up more than anything else in the world, I'm talking about more than what the presidential administration is doing, more than what's happening in your neighborhood with the gentrification, more than what's happening with if you want to know what burns me up more than anything else, is for me to be sitting down at a table with Black folks in particular in public, and white people come up. And when white people come up, the Black people that I'm talking to, they whisper the word white. You know, white people. What? Or they don't even whisper it. They just mouth it. Those of you who can see me on Facebook, you see me mouthing the word. Or what they'll do is they'll open their palm and they'll point to their palm and talk about, these people. Because, your palm is light, like white. Okay, they'll point. Or when they talk about Black people, they'll point to the back of their hand. And so I'm like, how in the world are you going to fight for liberation if you scared to say white in public? How are you going to fight for your own liberation if you were, or because if you're talking to me in public, I will say white. And sometimes I say it loud so that everybody can hear what I'm saying because I'm not scared. And y'all be wanting me to, shh, girl, shh. Do you want to start looking around, seeing who watching? Do you want to see how? So I don't even know how we're going to go back to the forerunners of the Black Panther Party when we can't even do that. Black Panther said, listen, I'll stand up in public. I'll put on my black beret. I'll wear my black leather. I'll have my gun. Those of us who believed in it at the time, because not everybody did. I don't mind escorting the seniors to the bus stop so that they can get on the public transportation, public transportation safely. I don't mind being armed as I walk them to the bank so they can cash their check. I don't mind standing guard so that the children can get to school. I don't care nothing about but we scared to say the word. And I keep asking, first of all, my first question to the people that I'm talking to is, wait a minute, do you even notice what you're doing? Because for some of us, it's so ingrained and we've been doing it for so long, we don't even realize that we're doing it. So the first thing I want to do is call it to your attention. Do you know that you just whispered to white people? Do you know that you can't even say white people, that you had to mouth the word? Do you realize that that's what's happening in your body? The second question I have is, what you scared of? What they gonna do to you, boo? What's the one part of I do not watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore. I tell people I will watch something because people will ask me a question about, like Ezekiel just asked me to research the people that came before the Black Panther. So I don't mind doing that. I will do that research in order to respond to what he said. And so I don't have a problem doing it. But once, that's not something I'm gonna just delve into every day, all day. And so somebody asked me a question about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And so I said, well, let me watch it so that I can answer the question. And in one episode, I can't remember her name. I think her name was Cynthia. I'm not even sure if her name was Cynthia or not. But she was standing 10 toes down on something, and she reared back in her chair. She crossed her arms and she cocked her head and she said, who gonna check me, boo? In other words, she said, who gonna step to me and correct me? Huh? Who? Who is bold and daring enough to come up in my face and tell me about what I already know? Who gonna check me, boo? And so that's my question. Who gonna check you? If you say white people in public, who gonna check you? What you scared of? What they gonna do to you that they have not already done? I once read this quote that said, the thing that you are most afraid of has already happened to you. So that's the quote. The thing that you are most afraid of has already happened to you. And what that means to me, the way I interpret that is, I don't need to, I'm not worried about that anymore. I can't be caught. I can't let that hold me back. I can't let that make me angry. That has already happened. I got to figure out a way to power through. I ain't worried about that no more. So if we've already been enslaved, if we have already been through redlining, if we still going through gentrification, if we have already been through tyrants as presidents, if we have already been through Jim Crow, if we have already been through the Black Code, if we have already been through Jane Crow, if we have already been through the terror of lynching, yeah, if we have already been through all of that, people spitting on us, sicking dogs on us, people beating us while we just trying to sit at a counter and get some lunch, people that's beating us on Bloody Sunday while all we doing is walking across the, if we have done all of that, who gonna check you, boo? And so we can't even talk about the people that came before the Black Panthers who were willing to stand up to the KKK if you can't even say white in public. And I'm talking about all of us, not just black folks, non-black folks too. Y'all scared to say white too. Why? Who gonna check you, boo? And I'm gonna leave you with that. Answer that for me. Because right now we got your girl Lola coming up with 2 hours of jazz right here at KABF 88.3 FM. And these are songs that are meant to inspire. These are songs that are meant to get you to move your body, to know how it feels to get in on the front lines with boots on the ground so that we can fight for collective liberation. And she always starts with the lady. So I'm going to get us started with Roberta Flack singing The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. This is definitely a romantic song, but if we would just stop for a moment and pull it up out of the romanticism and think about what it would mean to look at each other and say, you know what? When I look at you, I see all the power that you had to move heaven and earth. I see all the power that you had to make me want to do something good. I see how you moving amongst me. That's what I want you to think about as you hear The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. We'll see y'all next time. I don't know if it's going to play.